The Rockies are no longer on pace to be the worst team in the history of baseball. Should we start to hang the banner now, or do the Dodgers have something to say about that as they come into town to play the Rockies for 4 games straight? DNVR Rockies podcast coming up next. Monday here on the show. It's the DNVR Rockies podcast presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code DNVR365. Place a bet for $5 and get $150 back in bonus bets. What's up, everyone? Welcome in to a Victory Monday podcast.
The Rockies haven't lost since our last podcast.
Have we been able to see that?
I don't think we've ever had that this season.
That's what I mean. Have we been able to say that at any other point this year? That's pretty crazy. The Rockies had some damn good baseball this weekend. It was fun to watch. Not only was it like wins, like it was fun baseball.
Yeah, and you got multiple different types of games. Like Friday night Rooftop Club was just like, that was the closest to just a solid baseball game that I've seen in a long time. Like there're not a ton of errors. There's not a ton of, 17 hits by a team. It was 4-3. Bullpen pitched well. Like we got a decent start, clutch hits here and there, nothing crazy. And it felt like that was maybe the most winning baseball, like winning team baseball game that the Rockies have played this entire year. Yeah, you can score 17 runs and win 17-16, and there's more fun games out there this entire year, but that win Friday night was just like, wow, this team is coming off, what was that, an 8-game losing streak, and you just shut the door, you play good baseball, and you win a home game at Coors where you didn't really have an offense that much of the game.
And Saturday was the same thing. Saturday, you had that comeback win on Saturday, which was great. The Diamondbacks bullpen collapsing numerous times throughout this series. I almost felt bad for our friends over at PHNX. I mean, the Rockies pretty much eliminated the Diamondbacks this weekend. The Diamondbacks have a long road to catch up. I think they're 8 games back or something like that from the wild card now. I mean, that's with how competitive Major League Baseball is this year. I would say that pretty much put a pin in their coffin.
Yeah, and I maybe felt a little bit bad, but when we went to Arizona, we meaning the Rockies, not us, but the Colorado Rockies went to Arizona a week ago and they swept us. They were really starting to feel themselves, get stoked for a potential wild card spot. And they come to Coors Field, they win the first game, and I'm not going to lie to you. I was thinking, here we go again. We're going to get swept by the Diamondbacks, and it's going to continue this. That would have been an 11-game losing streak at the time. And somehow Friday night, they turned it around. We're now 2-0 in our last 2 rooftop clubs, so maybe we should just make it every Friday home game.
Absolutely.
And then they have massive comeback wins Saturday and Sunday. And like now, yes, we still understand what this team is, but even this entire Dodgers series, if they're down 2 to 3 runs now, the Dodgers bullpen, very different from the Diamondbacks bullpen, but I'm going to have like this weird sort of confidence that's starting to build that they're not just out of it just because they're down a few runs.
Dude, I was telling you before the show, like the 9th inning comes around, Juan Mejia is on the mound, and we're all sitting there thinking to ourselves, okay, Juan Mejia's never closed a game at the big league level. It's his first save that he was in line for, and things got a little dicey. But in the back of my head, I'm sitting here thinking, as long as the Diamondbacks don't put up like 5 runs in this inning, they might tie the game. They might even take the lead. I actually had confidence that the Rockies were going to win the game in the bottom of the 9th. Like I literally wasn't even stressed when that pop fly happened and the crazy play by Mejia. Like I had this moment of like, if it drops, they tie the game, whatever, the Rockies will just walk it off. I have not felt that way this entire season, dude. That's a wild feeling to have.
It is an unreal feeling. And I kind of had the same thing. I was like, yesterday was actually about to be, I think for the first time this season, I was typing my game tweet out, which I missed on Friday night of all nights. Saturday night.
Yeah.
I missed the Saturday night tweet. I was at the Broncos game, kind of.
You were working too. Yeah.
But I missed the Friday or Saturday night tweet, so I got it out Sunday morning. And then yesterday, I was like crafting the tweet, and that was going to be the first loss of the season. That was going to be both exciting and infuriating because It would have been very Rockies to lose that game. Now, yes, they lose a lot of games, so it's very Rockies to just lose a baseball game in general. But the fact that they've had 3 games in a row where their bullpen has been needed to where you finally found what seems like a closer that's cooking, and then he's not available, and you lose because your closer's not available. I would have been like, dude,
Vodnik?
He's gonna have 12 to 15 saves on the year. And I'm not saying he should have been available. Like Schaefer's doing a very good job of trying to manage this team right now in 17 straight games. But I was just thinking to myself, this is so Rockies that Herget goes again. I mean, Herget can't Herget's got to be unavailable today or tomorrow. He has
he probably
to be.
is. He probably is.
And hopefully, one of these Dodgers games, I don't want to lose any of them, but hopefully there's one game where they just kind of like run away from us or we run away from them, maybe.
Yeah, maybe Kyle Farmer's pitching in the 7th inning and you're like, all right, we could just waste this game.
We just get a day where it's like, all right, everybody's reset, Vodnik's available, Herget's available, because those two right now, I feel an extreme amount of confidence. And Mejia
circle of trust, you might say. Yeah.
But yeah, those two, like if Herget comes in, I'm like, oh, this guy's not allowing any runs.
Yeah.
And then Vodnik comes in, I'm like, same thing here. So you can get to the 7th or 8th with a lead, which has actually happened the last couple of games. I feel confident in the bullpen and a few guys.
Yeah. The guys who I think are more established, again, Jimmy Herget, Victor Vodnik, and a few more. But as Drew says in the Toyota chat, Mejia didn't care. He was catching that ball. That had to be one of the craziest endings to the game. And we are going to move on and talk about some other stuff on the show. But Dion, I sent you this picture. If you want to throw that up on the screen, it is insane to me. I went back and watched this highlight like 5 times. Where Juan Mejia is on the infield right now. Like he's coming from the pitcher's mound. He is basically playing second base, maybe even a shifted first base in that position. That is all Warming Bernabel's baseball in that play. And he's out there, doing the Willie Mays over the shoulder. I mean, hell of a play there by Juan Mejia.
Dude, I think he just got so into his
it was
own
adrenaline.
mind of like, I need to do anything I can to get this save because I'm already the wheels are already coming off.
They were
coming off. And then of course Marte is up there and you're like, oh my God, this can't be happening to us because Marte wasn't even in the lineup to start the game. He comes up and you're like, oh God, this is not good. And everybody from that roster honestly was hitting all weekend. But when you see a guy as good as Marte, you're like, I thought there was no way that at least 1, maybe 2 runs weren't scoring.
Same. That's why I think Mejia was probably thinking the same thing. And he's like, I gotta make this catch. I'm gonna go all the way out basically to right field to make the catch. I thought it was
Mejia.
Yeah, I thought it was funny too. Post game, I don't remember who it was. I wasn't at the game yesterday, but someone asked Warren Schaefer, hey, are you gonna talk to Mejia? Because that's not his baseball. That he should not be involved in that play. That's Warming Bernabel's ball. Like Mejia's a young player. Schaefer, are you going to go talk to Juan Mejia to kind of remind him, hey, you got to chill out when you're on the mound out there? And Schaefer kind of laughed and was like, he's never going to have a ball like that ever again. That.
Right.
He's never going to be in that situation again. That was just a crazy play. So shout out to Juan Mejia for going out and making it happen.
Well, and I don't know how it looked like. You were there, obviously. So it kind of...
I wasn't there
you
yesterday.
Weren't there. You're watching on TV. So I thought that it ended up being Bernabel's glove on the ground.
Yeah.
I thought that was the glove with the ball. And I was
Correct.
like, oh my God, the ball's on the ground. The ball's on the ground. Like somebody figured it out. And then Drew, it seemed like he did not think that. So he was like, the game's over. And then you look down and Mejia, you're like, I thought he got knocked out.
I thought he was dead.
And then he was fucking with him and just got up, hopped up, and the Rockies won. But yeah, that was insane. But I saw that glove on the ground and I was like, that's going to be the glove with the ball.
Which I was going to say, even if the ball is in your glove, if the glove comes off your hand, it's safe. It's as if you drop the ball. So yeah, wild play. Today on the show, we want to talk. Are the Rockies going to continue doing what they're doing? They're playing good baseball right now. Can the pitching sustain them against the Dodgers? We also got to talk about the big national news last night, which was the fact that the commissioner of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, went out and said pretty much straight up, we're expecting or we're planning on having an expansion team and possible realignment to Major League Baseball postseason, to divisions, all of that stuff.
Lefty's writing our script for us. He had that popped up literally right as you're reading that.
Yeah. So as you guys, yes, we are going to talk about that probably after this first break. But for this first segment of the show, I do want to talk about this record because the Rockies are now 4 games off pace wise of the all-time loss record. And we had talked about this a lot. We've talked about this all year. We talked about it a little bit last show too. The Rockies might not be on pace for the single season loss record anymore. But if you look at their remaining schedule, there is some crazy baseball games still to be played. You've got the Dodgers in town this week. And then, you kind of go on the road for a little stretch. I think they play the Pirates after that. There are a couple teams in there that you could draw some wins from, the Giants, the Marlins. But then you play the Padres, the Dodgers, the Padres again. Like it's a hell of a remaining season. So I'm going to go on record and say I don't think the Rockies are going to break that record. I think they will avoid the record, and it might come down to the last week or so. It might come down to the last few games even, but I do think they will avoid the record. But I'll go a step even further. If you had to predict what the Rockies' final record would be when the season ends, what's your prediction?
I'm going to say it's 43-119.
43 and 119.
43 wins is where they get to. Looking at the schedule, it's going to be tough. But the crazy thing about the Rockies in this moment right now, like they're 13-15 since the break, with an 8-game losing streak in there. So they're, the week, the buns of that meat is the shit. That 8-game losing streak is the meat. But the buns of that, what is that? 13-5 in an 18-game stretch of some point of the season. Like the worst team in baseball ever, you wouldn't think would have some stretch like that. Like you would think they'd win one or two here and look at their April and May. It's kind of exactly like that. That was the worst team in baseball, where it's like you win maybe one game a series, then you get swept, then the next series you win one or two. I mean, how long did it take them to actually win a series? And now they've won back-to-back series, one on the road.
They've won more series this post All-Star break than they have, the entire beginning of the season.
Yeah, and so they're winning actual series, not just like flash in the pan game after game. And that's what makes me think that they will get to this record, or not get to this record, if you will, and break it and win more than 42 games, because they're playing good baseball back at Coors Field now. Since the All-Star break and since that Pirates series basically 2 weeks ago, I don't know exactly what their home record is, but it's got to be above 500, because other than getting bludgeoned by the Blue Jays, they've been in or won basically every single game at Coors Field since the break.
Wow. So we've got a couple people in the chat going for 50 wins. I'd be hyped if they could get to 50 wins, because that means they're taking a handful of games that on paper they shouldn't be taking. And so I'm all in on that. I think they'll go 46 and 116 is that would be?
Yeah.
I think that'd be pleasant. Again, you're taking still a couple games against teams you shouldn't be taking games against, but, yeah, this is it. I was reading this and going back through some of these stats and looking at the wins and losses prior to the All-Star break versus post All-Star break. They're 13-15, as you just said, post All-Star break. It took them 68 games to get their first 13 wins of the season. I understand that the roster looks a lot different now than it did when we debuted the Rockies in 2025, with Chris Bryant still as a part of that, right? Like there's Nick Martini and, the entire roster looks different. But this is a team that, aside from, like you said, that 8-game skid against a team really relatively in the Blue Jays that are just one of the best teams in baseball right now, this has been playing good baseball. The pitching has really been our only big mark of negativity. I mean, the starting pitching has really been the only thing. The offense has kept them in most games, aside from a game or two where your offense is off, because that happens in baseball. Your bullpen has been good, downright good, sub-3 ERA post All-Star break. I've been pleased with what we've seen. I think this is a competent baseball team minus starting pitching post All-Star break.
Yeah, and that's what you see from them. Like a game like yesterday is a perfect example. Now, granted, they ended up getting down by 4 and then coming back and winning the game late in the 7th. But yesterday's game, you're in a pitcher's duel between Antonio Senzatella and another guy that just called up from AAA, which was
who would have thought
a shocking thing in the first place. But either way, you're starting pitching, and then your starting pitching was good, and then in the 5th inning, you get a big hit from Orlando Arcia, who's, we all know how we feel about Orlando Arcia, but big hit, you take the 1-0 lead, and you're like, okay, this is competent baseball. Like, you see the Brewers have won 14 in a row up until yesterday, and that's what they do. They keep themselves in games, and then even yesterday when they lost, they get a big 2-run home run in the 9th inning from Contreras. Like, that's what good teams do. You're going to have the crazy games where you score 16 runs, the other team scores 14, or just nobody can get anybody out. But that's way less common than just hey, both of our pitchers are going. Let's find a way to scratch out 1 or 2 runs, take the lead, hand it over to our bullpen and see what happens. And from Friday night to Sunday, so all 3 games since our last pod, we've kind of seen a formula. Now, a couple of comebacks, but like the starting pitching gives you enough to where you feel like you're in the game. And literally, other than like the 9-run comeback against the Pirates and a couple of those other crazy Pirates games, your starting pitching doesn't have to be great for you to be competitive. It has to be just, what do we say? 6 innings, 4 runs. That's our number.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at. Even 5 innings, 4 runs. That feels like even if you don't score in the first 2 or 3 innings, you're close enough to where you get a couple of base hits in a row, you stack a few together, and you're right back in the game. And that's actually what the Rockies have been doing the last week or so.
Yeah, it's been pretty good baseball. Again, starting pitching aside, it's been pretty good baseball. The Rockies do have a chance to play spoilers because, as I just said, the Rockies more or less eliminated the Diamondbacks from the postseason, with at least put the nail in the coffin on the Diamondbacks' postseason hopes. The Rockies are playing the Dodgers this week, and that is a big series, not for the Rockies per se, but for the Dodgers, because the Dodgers are going on a bit of a skid. They are tight with San Diego atop the NL West right now. And if the Rockies go out and, hell, if the Rockies win 1 game against the Dodgers, let alone 2, maybe even 3, that we're getting ahead of ourselves, it would be panic in Dodger land, for sure. So it could be exciting. We got to take our first break of the show. After the break, though, we do have to talk, like I said, realignment. But I also want to finish this conversation. What are some of the other teams the Rockies could play spoiler to? What would some of the teams that you want the Rockies to play spoiler to? And also, is there some deja vu happening between the end of 2025 and the end of 2024? I'll get into what I mean by that after this break. Well, I want to give some love to our friends right now over at Coors Light because, like we were just talking about, and if you follow us, you follow our show, you know we had an incredible time hanging out on the rooftop on Friday to watch not only another Rockies win, but enjoy some nice, cold, refreshing Coors Lights. There is no better way to enjoy the end of baseball season and the entrance into football season and everything that follows than with a nice, cold, refreshing Coors Light. And I got to say, even just beyond sports, like just sitting out on the porch, drinking a nice, cold, refreshing Coors Light, can't go wrong. Especially with this nice warm weather we've been having recently. And it's been beautiful. There hasn't been any smoke, knock on wood, these last few days. It's been like perfect Denver weather. Perfect time to enjoy that Coors Light. I mean, it is the perfect combination. So make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instant Cart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company in Golden, Colorado. Also want to give some love to our friends over at Cake Mortgage because Cake Mortgage is helping change the mortgage game, change the home buying game so that if you are trying to invest in real estate or buy your first home or whatever that looks like, they can get you started with that. And they do it for people who don't have the most traditional income. And what I mean by that is that there's a lot of people out there who have lots of different types of income. You know, maybe you're a freelancer, maybe you're a contractor, maybe you have a side business, a side hustle as they call it. Well, a lot of times banks don't really trust that type of income because it's not consistent sometimes it's seasonal, and banks want to see that consistent income. So with Cake Mortgage, they are a company that's built around getting you approved for all of your different revenue streams, all of your different income streams so that you can get the house that you deserve. Not only that you deserve, but that you can afford with all of the different types of income that you have. So like I said, perfect for people who are self-employed, credit-worthy borrowers, people who are contractors, freelancers, anything like that. If you're looking to invest in real estate or always dreamed about owning income property, call 1-800-EAT-CAKE or head to the link in the description because life is better with cake. Again, head to the link in the description and let them know that DNVR Rockies sent you. Cake Mortgage Corporation, equal housing lender, NMLS number 1734623, licensed in Colorado by the Division of Real Estate. Terms and conditions apply. All right, I said deja vu before the break because I want to at least kind of pump the brakes just a little bit, just a tiny bit. I know we're excited. I'm excited, but I want to pump the brakes just a tiny bit because if you remember last year, I remember this vividly because I was starting on this podcast. I'd just been hired in July, and I was coming in at the end of last season with the Rockies, and the Rockies were, on pace for another 100-loss season. They weren't the worst team in the history of baseball, but they were still a very bad team. And at the end of 2024, all of a sudden you have this bullpen that is putting up numbers like we've never seen before. And the offense is competent again. And, you see some games like against the Red Sox where you're coming back down 7 runs in the 7th inning and they come back and they win that game. Sam Hilliard is walking off, 2 out of 3 games against the Cubs. The Rockies are sweeping the Padres, who, in my opinion, should have been a World Series team last year. The Rockies played damn good baseball at times at the end of last year. So it brought up the question to me, yes, the Rockies are playing better baseball at the end of 2025. Are we concerned this is another flash in the pan like we saw at the end of 2024? Or was the end of 2024 a good sign of what could come, and then the Rockies kind of bungled it when they started 2025 with a veteran-heavy roster and bad decisions with coaching and all that kind of stuff? Like, what happened? What's the disconnect there?
Well, the tough part for me right now, because I want to connect the two and I want to disassociate from what happened at the end of last season and restart that feeling again this season, and want to believe that it's different because it's a lot of different players. And that's what I'm going to hang my hat on for right now, is the fact that what they did last year, even when the bullpen was good, it wasn't a lot of these same guys. It was Luis Peralta, who was terrible yesterday. But it doesn't even look like he should be he didn't allow a run for like 12 or, crazy shit was happening.
A franchise record for not allowing a run for the most consecutive starts.
Right. And so that's what's making me hold on to the fact that, yes, it does feel like deja vu, but since it's a different group of players and it's a different, to me, it feels like a different energy around the team. And I'll be completely honest about that. Like, watching this team right now, yes, you can look at the record, and yes, you can look at all national media talking about how bad they are, and that's fair. And it's not, you look at numbers and look at the record, and that's all you really need to know. That if you win or lose baseball games, that's what matters in the MLB, and it's what matters to every single team. But to me, the vibes around the Rockies since the All-Star break, let's just say since the All-Star break, have been so much better, where they feel like, and Ritter even said it in his post-game interview yesterday with Spilly on the field, he's like, we feel like we get games close, and then now we're starting to win some of these close games. And so that's what we talked about earlier in the year, where yes, you have to have the players. Yes, you have to play good baseball to win games, but you also got to have confidence that you're going to win games. And there's been a lot of this season, even just as quickly or as soon as before this Diamondback series 4 days ago, you can forget quickly, but it feels like you can never win a game again.
Yeah.
And the Rockies have been such a roller coaster of, we come in here, we haven't lost since our last pod. We had the whole weekend of wins, comebacks, great pitching, great hitting, timely hits, all that stuff. And then yet they could lose 4 in a row to the Dodgers by a cumulative score of 45-8. Yeah. And we're sitting here on, our show's gonna be on Wednesday, but we're sitting here next weekend like, they're not getting the record. They're gonna lose. We're gonna win 40 games and be the worst team ever. So it's been quite the roller coaster all season long. But I am hopeful that because this lineup is so different, we didn't have Karros last year. Tovar was part of it. Brenton Doyle's coming on and just being a big part of it, like we had hoped. Insane. Jordan Beck's a big part of it. Warming Bernabel, who we didn't anticipate. Ryan Ritter. Hunter Goodman is kind of carried over a little bit what he did last year, now become a legitimate all-star. Mickey Moniak wasn't part of that, and he's been a huge help this year. And we're talking about hitting strictly, obviously. The pitching has not done us any favors.
Yeah, starting pitching is never, that's not going to work itself out this year.
No, but it has been fun to watch, and there's a different vibe around the team. And I legit think that they're to the point now where other teams, because they were so incompetent early that it was like, oh, we're just going to fucking beat the shit out of these. We're going to sweep them. Now the Dodgers are coming in here, and should the Dodgers be scared of Colorado? No. But this spoiler rule is a blast. We ruined the Diamondback season the past 3 days. And now the Dodgers, at least watching this team the last 28 games since the break, their guard has to be up. Like, they can't just roll in here and win a 4-game series and sweep us by being mediocre. Like, they're going to have to play really well, which they can do. They won the World Series. They're a very good team, but you can't just stroll over the Colorado Rockies anymore. It's a legitimate thorn in the side for all these teams trying to make the playoffs.
I agree with Lux, and you said it. The Dodgers aren't going to be scared coming into Colorado. Colorado, I mean, don't get me wrong. We've played well against the Pirates. We've played well against the Diamondbacks. We're beating the average to below average teams. And actually, we've really done that all season long. I mean, you swept the Marlins, you've beat the teams that you're supposed to beat on paper. The Dodgers are still the Dodgers. They are still going to be very good, but they have more to lose. And I think what I'm getting at with this is that the Dodgers aren't going to be scared. They have all the confidence in the world that they're going to win these games, but they have much more at stake if they were to lose one, maybe even 2 games to the Colorado Rockies out of 4, if the Rockies split these next 4 games against the Dodgers, that is a massive, massive L for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And as Lefty in the chat says, the Dodgers are 10-0 in their last 10 games against the Rockies. These are games that the Dodgers absolutely should win. They expect to win. They are prepared to win. However, if they don't, it will be a much bigger, it'll be a much bigger stain on the Dodgers resume than it will be if the Rockies go and get swept, right? So that's kind of where we're coming at, is like, I'm not expecting the Rockies to go out there and crush them. The Rockies are still the Rockies, but I do think if the Rockies were to go out and play spoiler this weekend, that would be a much worse look for the Dodgers than if the Rockies just get blown out, in the next 4 games.
Yeah,
if you and I are sitting here next week and saying, the Rockies got swept, so be it. The Rockies are still on pace to win 42 games, right?
Right. And they have that. The Rockies have a little bit of the fun feeling right now of they're actually winning some baseball games, but they're also playing. They're not playing like their lives depend on it. I'm not saying that they're not playing hard enough.
There's no pressure.
There's no pressure. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're playing free. I mean, Juan Mejia yesterday did everything he could just to catch a simple jam shot routine kind of infield pop-up and got run over by Warren Bernabel, held onto it and got his first save. Like, these guys are putting it all on the line and having a good time doing it. Like, the team's smiling, the team's laughing. The vibes around the team are definitely a lot different. And I'm sure you can even see that with, you get to talk to Shafe before the game, you get to go in the clubhouse after. Like, it's not like earlier in the year where, they'd win a game here or there and they'd be like, well, we still lost 5 of the last 6 and blah, blah, blah. Now it's like, they're like, okay, we're kind of figuring out how to win some baseball games, and we're doing it with a lineup that's electric. It's 27 or younger. Mickey Moniak's the oldest guy in that lineup. They're messing around. Like, how many times in the Discord have we said the last 4 or 5 games, this is a perfect lineup?
Yeah.
And then there's a player that's not in it that you're like, oh, I wish that guy was in it. And we're actually starting to see that versus like, you get the first 5 guys and you're like, cool. And then 6, 7, 8, 9, you're like, I don't want any of these guys to be in my lineup today.
Dude, we were looking at lineups before the All-Star break, again, that had Sean Bouchard, Nick Martini, Kyle Farmer, Tyro Estrada, Orlando Arcia. Like, you're looking at this lineup and you're like, what are we doing, right? You and I were texting each other, or the Discord was, just blowing up because you're like looking at this lineup thinking to yourself, why? No wonder we're losing 50 games in a row, So, it's a different vibe. Again, not to say that the Rockies are all of a sudden a playoff team. Again, we felt the excitement coming at the end of last year, and we know how 2025 went, or is going. So, tamper our expectations a little bit. But the reality is the Rockies are playing better baseball. It's a lot more fun. And they have the chance to do what we've, as Rockies fans, have really just become accustomed to, is play spoiler. That's kind of the most exciting part of the season in September for Rockies fans, because we don't have October to look forward to. So we're sitting here thinking to ourselves, whose season can we ruin? The Dodgers, you can't ruin the Dodgers season, but you can definitely make them. You can make them think twice.
Yeah, I mean, aren't they? If they lose 2 of 4 to the Rockies, they're probably losing their lead in the NL
They're
West.
probably losing their lead.
They're going to be a wild card team.
Yeah, the Padres, again, they're another one of those teams. The Giants are already out of it because the Rockies play the Giants, I think, twice or 2 times again, or maybe just once.
I think I had the schedule up. Yeah, they play a 3-game set starting September.
Yeah, and then their last series of the year is against the Giants.
Last year at the Giants.
So the Giants are pretty much done. One that I think could be a spoiler, and this is coming the second to last series of the season. I'm going to be at these games. I'll be in Seattle visiting my family, but also going and covering the games at T-Mobile. The Mariners are going. They're tight in that race right now in the American League, both for the wild card and the divisional race at the same time, but mostly the wild card. The Rockies play the Mariners the second to last series of the season, and that could be a very big spoiler series for the Mariners. I'm a little nervous about that. I actually, like I said,
where are you going to be?
I'm going to be a little bit in the middle
mentally on that, like those 2 games.
Out of all the teams that could be spoiled by the Rockies, they're the one team that I'm like, no. I want the Mariners to get to the playoffs. I want a good team to root for in the playoffs that is not the Astros, the Dodgers, the Padres. Like, I want to be able to root for an actual team that I can connect with, and the Mariners are my team when it comes to that. So hopefully that isn't the one that they play spoiler to. But look, I want to hit our second break a little bit early because we've got a big topic coming up next. MLB expansion and realignment. Got to hit our next break, but after the break, we got to break down what could possibly happen to the Colorado Rockies if there's an expansion team and what that means for baseball here in Colorado. We'll hit on that coming up after this next break. I want to give some love to our friends right now over at Bet365 because Bet365, well, if you've been betting against the Rockies like we have all year long, you might be losing some money. And so we might have to change our approach. I know you've been changing our approach. We no longer have the official Bet365 anti-Rockies parlay. Sometimes we have a positive pro-Rockies parlay. Are you going pro-Rockies or anti-Rockies in the Dodgers series using that DNVR 365 code?
I'm going on the fence.
Okay.
And I've got a hit parlay for tonight. I'm addicted to hit parlays. It's just what I do. I've got one out there right now. The Cubs and Brewers are playing as we speak, and I've first game of the day on a Monday. I have to bet that. That's just how it goes. But my Rockies and Dodgers parlay for tonight, just a simple 5-leg hit parlay. Tyler Freeman to get a hit, Ezequiel Tovar to get a hit, Jordan Beck to get a hit, Teoscar Hernandez to get a hit, and Andy Paez to get a hit is plus 210. And then the Bet365 app will boost that 30% for you. So you're almost winning 4 times. You're almost getting plus 400 on that. So you bet, $10, you're winning almost 40 on that. So
your hit bet or your hit parlays have been cooking.
They have. Now going with 5 because at Coors Field, me and my buddy Dan who do these, we don't usually go Coors Field games because the odds are insane. I think Teoscar's minus 650 to get a hit. But we've seen these Rockies games. We know what the Dodgers are. That's why I threw 3 Rockies in there. 2 Dodgers. So once again, Rockies, Freeman, Tovar, Beck, Dodgers, Hernandez, Paez, all just to get a hit. Get a hit in that big Coors Field outfield, and you're getting plus almost 400 with that 30% profit boost from Bet365.
Love it. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you're someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Also want to give some love to our friends right now over at Toyota. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR, of the Colorado Rockies, and the official vehicle of Colorado, it feels like. You can't go outside and walk down the street without seeing 50 Toyotas driving down the road. There's a reason for that. Colorado is a perfect place to own a Toyota. I mean, you can own a Toyota anywhere, and it's a great spot. But especially with winter not too far away, we're already close to September and October. I mean, we're not that far out from fall.
Insane.
It is insane. And you got to have a car that can handle all of that. Toyota has so many different all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive vehicles, like the Tundra truck, like the RAV4. You can go. The Grand Highlander is another great one. I mean, there's so many different choices when you're looking at buying a new car, SUV, truck. Toyota has, you can't go wrong. You just cannot go wrong. They even have hybrid options as well if you're trying to be environmentally efficient. So whatever you're into, Toyota has you covered. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, and Stevenson's Toyota East in Aurora, Stevenson's Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. All right, before we start on this next segment, we're talking realignment. We're talking Major League Baseball expansion. Drop us a comment or hit us up in the Toyota chat. Let us know what you guys think. Is an expansion team on the horizon? Could we possibly be seeing that? Do you think that's something that would be good for baseball? Which city do you think you could see that in? And also, if there's going to be a conference realignment or divisional realignment, what is that going to look like for the Rockies? I know I've got my opinions, my takes on it, but Rob Manfred went out on the Little League Classic game last night on the broadcast and pretty much said, hey, this is probably happening at some point. It's realistic to think that within the next few years, it's going to pick up some steam. So we've been tossing around this topic for a while. I do want to have some experts come on the show at some point because in full transparency, I'm not the expert when it comes to all of this kind of stuff. Our good friend Patrick Lyons does a ton of work when it comes to what possibilities expansion teams are. So we might see if we can get Patrick back on the show to talk about this kind of stuff. But it is big because it sounds like this could actually be happening. And the expansion team part of it is interesting because, obviously I love seeing the game of baseball grow. I would love to see more cities get a baseball team. We could throw out Nashville, you could throw out Salt Lake City. Like there are some cities that I think could possibly be a really cool place to have a baseball team. But when you're looking at it from a Rockies lens, I think the realignment is the bigger picture because that to me has more to say about what the Rockies' future looks like, of what types of teams we're playing more. Can the Rockies avoid having to play the Dodgers 5 times a year? You know what I mean? Like
and the Giants.
Yeah, and the Padres and the Giants, right? Like,
yeah, their whole division is a murderer's row.
Yeah. So from your perspective, and then I'll give you my take. What do you What do you hope comes out of this? I'll go with that. I'll start with that. What do you hope?
Honestly, what I hope comes out of this, I'm looking at an MLB team map based on like latitude, longitude, proximity. The Rockies have by far the biggest part of America, which is kind of cool because there's, they've got Montana, they've got Wyoming, they've got the upper half of New Mexico, they've got part of Salt Lake City. But for realignment purposes, one of the things I would like to see is a little bit more like, obviously, the teams are going to go up and down. The Dodgers are probably never going to go down, or not at least for the next 10 years. But I would like to see the Rockies with like looking at this map, like Rockies, Twins, Royals, Rangers, and Astros, right kind of down that middle. And maybe you throw the Astros in the more south with the Rays and the Braves or something like that and take the St. Louis Cardinals. But I really think that it would obviously benefit the Rockies right now in the moment, but in just general travel terms, which is something Manfred talked about, like if the Rockies were playing more of the Minnesotas, the Kansas Cities, the Texases, Houston or Texas, that kind of gives you a central division, if you will. And yes, it helps them getting away from the Dodgers, getting away from the Giants, getting away from the Padres, but it just makes more sense when you have a team like the Mariners and the A's playing more teams like the Giants, the Dodgers, the Angels, the Padres, they can be with the Diamondbacks and be a little bit more south or however they're going to work it out. But I think that the Rockies could benefit from not only record-wise, but just a lot less travel. Like the fact that the Rockies and the Kansas City Royals are not playing each other consistently when they're literally the only two teams within the middle, all of middle America of actual teams. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense. And there's so many games, 162, and people complain about the travel for NBA teams and NHL teams and all this stuff. And like when you look at it in a Rockies light and baseball light, it would help the Rockies a ton to be more of a central division team. And then for expansion, the thing I'm excited about is I want to get those cities teams that really get behind the teams, because we've seen it in the NBA and the example I use the most, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like, before the Oklahoma City Thunder were in Oklahoma, they didn't have a professional sports team to like latch onto. And being a kid growing up kind of in Iowa, I know how like important college sports are to people in Iowa. But if you gave any Iowa city at all a professional team, that entire state gets so behind it. And some of these cities are so watered down with like fans that don't even care to go to the games. And that's what I want to see is maybe smaller stadiums, newer stadiums, but like a place like Nashville or a place like Salt Lake City where the whole city is so behind the team that it makes it fun. It makes it exciting for that team, because it's not like, and I throw out this name all the time and I'm sorry, I know they're a decent baseball team, but like it annoys me that the Tampa Bay Rays are a decent to good baseball team every year. And then you look in their stadium and you're like, I've seen more.
The Diamondbacks.
There's more people at a Little League World Series game.
The Diamondbacks feel like that to me. I look at the Diamondbacks and I'm like, what? You were a World Series team 2 years ago.
It drives me crazy that these cities, because we've talked about it a million times on the show and I stand by this. Denver is a baseball city if there's a good product on the field, and I don't blame people for not going right now, but you make this team 81-81, and Coors Field is packed all August, all September. They don't, yes, the Broncos start, but there are so many baseball fans here, and that's what I want to see from the expansion cities. The excitement around a new team, or, they're not watered down with a city that has 5 other professional teams where people can't really keep track of all their favorites and go to all the games. Like, Give Salt Lake City one. I mean, they've crushed it with the Utah Mammoth or whatever they are. I think the Utah Mammoth. Like give those cities a team that will really get behind it, because that's what baseball needs. Baseball doesn't need any more teams like the Rays that kind of go against what baseball's about. They spend as little as they can. They trade away their good players. They say that out loud they only want to compete every 5 years. And nobody goes to the games. That's what you don't need. No, I agree. And it is interesting, and side note here, to kind of continue what you were saying. You watch Rockies games, you go to a game, this Rockies team is going to win between 40 and 50 games when all is said and done. And you go to a game, this last weekend was a perfect example. Diamondbacks don't draw big crowds, especially on the road. There was, probably a couple hundred Diamondbacks fans at Coors Field these last few days. So the majority of the fans that were there, the 22 to 29,000 fans, depending on the day that were there, were Rockies fans. And it's loud. And it's when the Rockies are coming back, like it feels like the atmosphere doesn't feel like a 40-win baseball team. So you're right. The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, will definitely get behind a good team. And so for the people that say, the Rockies need to leave, like the Rockies are such a terrible team, Major League Baseball should send them somewhere else, to a city that wants them. Just because the Rockies are bad
doesn't mean that the city doesn't want a good baseball team and doesn't still show up even for the bad team. So that topic I just had to address, because Colorado should always have a baseball team, no matter how bad they are. Colorado deserves to have a baseball team. Now, getting to the realignment / expansion, I agree. I think expansion is great. I am not going to be someone that says expansion is ever bad. I know there are people who think expansion can be bad for baseball or can be bad for the league or can be challenging, whatever. Expansion is good for baseball. The more fans that can have an identity, especially for a team that doesn't cost another fan base their team, the better, right? I've said this before. I'm from Seattle. I grew up in Seattle. We lost the Supersonics to Oklahoma City, and it is still sending ripples through that fan base that craves a basketball team, an NBA team. Seattle deserves an NBA basketball team. So I'm not about, moving people like the A's to Vegas, that kind of stuff, but I am about expansion teams. I think that's fine. If they can end up in Nashville, Salt Lake City, wherever, I'm happy with that. I don't care where it is. Get an expansion team. For the realignment, there's a lot of people that say that, we don't want the Rockies to leave the National League. A lot of people that say, it would feel weird if the Rockies were in the American League. I don't really see too much of an issue with that. And I actually think, the Rockies it would make sense to be in the American League. Like I said, I'm not in favor of them leaving the National League. But if you're looking at, again, playing teams that are kind of on this side of the country, the Mariners, the Royals, like you had just gone through all of the geographical breakdown of that. It does make a lot of sense, right? To have the Rockies, or could possibly see the Rockies in the American League. Selfishly, I would love to see a division that has the Rockies, the A's, the Mariners, the Giants, right? Like that. Selfishly, that'd be super fun.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to work like that. I do think it'll be a lot more complicated, and I do think if they do realignments, it's going to be strictly geographical. It's not really going to be, people always want to say, oh, well, move the Rockies to a division they can be more competitive, because right now they're weighing down the NL West. Major League Baseball is not going to look at how good or bad a team is. They're just going to look at how much travel, how much money does it cost, what's the efficiency of this team being in this division.
Yeah, and at this point, maybe I'm just missing something that's pretty obvious, but now that the American League and the National League play the same brand of baseball, they both have DHs, and it's not like a completely different. I don't see the serious need to keep them in the National League or the to me it doesn't matter what league they're in. I would like to see 32 MLB teams and then 8. Basically, take the NFL model.
Yeah.
Have 8 divisions. The divisions are pretty close. You play those. You're going to play those 3 teams probably close to 20 times a piece, 10 home, 10 road. And then, you find those other 102 games are split between all of the schedules. But I think change is fun in this realm, because baseball has had a lot of change the last 5 or 6 years. And I think it's, whether or not you like the changes, it makes for a different product. And if your product is kind of getting stale, which I feel like baseball has kind of gone down in the past decade of viewership and excitement for players. And now you have the Shoheis and stuff lifting it up. But in general, I think change is good because people tune in to see change. Now, It's not necessarily that they love it, but the pitch clock, I don't even notice it anymore. But when it came out, you're like,
you got to see it.
Yeah.
You want to see the ABS system in the spring
exactly.
training. Yeah.
And so I think there's some good changes coming for the MLB. And I really do think that it will help the game in general, because it's keeping it fresh. It's not like, hey, I don't know if baseball is America's sport anymore. Right? Were we talking about that the other day?
Maybe, but I don't, it's not.
It's not. And
it is still one of the top 4.
No, absolutely. But
4.
It's not the sport that a bunch of kids grow up and want to be Major League Baseball players, or there's a ton of these guys that they're insanely following like a cult. It's definitely gotten watered down. And so adding a couple more cities, adding, different divisions, and having teams, it would be fun for the Rockies, in the same light of not having to play the Dodgers so much and not having to play the Padres. The Rockies got to play the Kansas City Royals way more, or the Houston Astros, or the Seattle Mariners. It'd be fun because you get to see those games 3 times a year. Whereas then it changes and you're in a different division, you get to see 20 times a year, and you get more of these new rivalries, or you find some new rivalries. I think that part of it's fun.
Yeah, I will play devil's advocate here, and this I do have some feelings behind this. There's some truth to what I'm about to say in how I view this, but there is part of me that's like, obviously the easy answer is I want to get out of the same division with the Dodgers, the Padres. We want out of that. If the Rockies want a chance to win a division one day, a good Rockies team, like I saw in the chat, could be in like an AL Central or something like that. Like a good Rockies team, yeah, theoretically could win the AL Central at some point. But the competitor in me is like, no, one day I want to do it right. I want to see the Rockies win the NL West. And right now it feels impossible. I get it. The Rockies feel 50 years away from being able to win the NL West, given how the Dodgers and Padres operate and how the Rockies operate. But as you guys have just pointed out, the Rockies were one game away from winning the NL West in just
2018?
7 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
7 years ago? 2018? 7 years ago, the Rockies were one game away from winning the NL West. And for me, if I had to choose between, let's just say, winning the AL Central in 7 years, with a mix of some kind of average teams or some iffy teams, competitively, or winning the NL West in 10 years, but like winning it outright against the Dodgers and the Padres. We've waited long enough, man. Give me the damn NL West title. Like I want to see that at some point. I want to see the Rockies do something the right way in that regard.
100%. And sports are so cyclical, dude. Like look at what 5, 6, 7 years ago, the Blue Jays were a joke and they're sitting there kind of like the Rockies and they're like, we are in a division with the Yankees and the Red Sox and this and that. And then look at them now.
Yep.
They're winning the division now. Like this stuff is in cycles, like not saying that the Rockies cycle lends them to being a team that could win the NL West.
Yeah, it's going to take a while.
Yeah. But it does happen. It's not like they're just never going to win the NL West. And maybe that's an insane thing to say, but I think in my lifetime, they'll win the NL West. Like it's going to come back around because go back to 2007, 2008. At that point, the Rockies were a younger team. They had this insane run. They make the World Series. Go back to the playoffs in 2009. You're like, this is a good baseball team.
Yeah.
And now here we are 16 years later. Or they made the playoffs again 2017, 2018, almost won the NL West then. Now we're in a stretch of bad, but maybe 2027, 2028, they're good again. And we're sitting here on the show like, damn, we sat there and talked about a 42-win baseball team all of 2025. And now we get this. Like it's going to happen. And I like your motive on that. Like, let's just win the NL West.
Yeah, like, hey, you want
the Dodgers.
Like, why do we have to move things around? Like, just be better, right?
Yeah.
And I know it's so easy to say that, but if do things the right way. I've used this as an example before, and I'm going to use it again because it makes sense in this context. Think about when the Nuggets were the worst team in the NBA, the 11-win Nuggets.
11-win Nuggets.
Think about the Avs. When the Avs had their historically bad season.
That was not even a decade ago.
It wasn't. And look at what both of those teams have become. Now, they've done things the right way from a front office and an ownership standpoint that, the Rockies are a long way away from being in that same boat where you can compare those two things. But it's not to say that the Rockies will never be able to be a team that can win an NL West against the Dodgers, against the Padres, against the Giants, against those juggernaut teams. And I got to say, when the Rockies win the NL West one day, it'll feel a hell of a lot sweeter than if you get a division win in a division that's significantly less competitive. I mean, hell, I'll take a division win no matter where I get it. But it just feels a little bit, there's some more weight behind it if you get that infamous, elusive NL West division win. So it's interesting to talk about. Like I said, I want to bring in some people on the show who know a heck of a lot more about the behind the scenes stuff, about what's happening, with the realignment and possible expansion. So over the next couple weeks, and especially as we get more information on this, maybe even going into the off season, we'll have some people come on the show and give their take on this as well. But it's a good topic, and I'm glad we got to touch on it a little bit. But we got to hit our last break of the show. After the break, though, what's the most insane Rockies stat so far this year? We've got some early nominations for most insane stat of the year. And also, we'll preview this upcoming series, talk about some starting pitching stuff, and we'll wrap up the show coming up after this. Okay, that was quick enough. Let's finish things up. Final 12 minutes of the pod. I wanted to just quickly run through this. We've seen plenty of insane stats that have happened this year. Some insane historical records that have been set by the Rockies, and we're about a month, maybe a month and a half away from this season being done. Is there a specific stat that stands out to you that is the most mind-boggling, eye-opening, good or bad, that the Rockies have accomplished this year?
I think this one you've got here of the run differential is just it's absurd because they, as we were spending the first 45 minutes talking about how fun they are and that the fact that they are becoming a watchable baseball team and a competitive baseball team these last couple of weeks. When they lose bad.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
when they decide that they're back, when they're packing it in for a series, it's bad. It's we said this off air right before the show, but there's a decent chance that they get swept by the Dodgers these next 4 games, and the total cumulative runs is 50-12, something like that, and that minus 331 run differential goes to minus 370.
Starting pitching gives up 7 runs per outing. Yeah.
I just think it does show you how far off they are sometimes. Now, baseball, there's so many games that from night to night, you're gonna have your 12-1 losses. Even being a good baseball team, you're gonna do that. But the fact that like when they lose, it's like 13-1. The Blue Jay series is ingrained in my mind. Every single game
that was hell.
An absolute joke. It wasn't even fun. And you have Austin Nola pitching in the 9th inning. You could have brought in a catcher or a fielder to pitch almost the 7th through the 9th of all 3 games
might have been
in that
better.
series. Yeah. And so games like that are insane. I think Felix actually has a great one there. The eight, they will lose 8 in a row. But they will not lose 9 in a row. I think is that 5 times?
If 5 times, they've done it 5 times.
After an 8
I hope they don't do that again, by the way. I hope that was the 5th and final time the Rockies go on an 8-game losing streak.
Yeah, I'd like to not crash out that heavy again. Yeah. Because every time it happens, even though we know what the Rockies are, I crash out.
But if the Rockies lose like 6 in a row, then I'm going to be pushing for them to get to that 8, just so we can go all the way up to 8 and then stop right there. The 8-game losing streak and never more than that is a crazy one. This was a pretty wild one. It's kind of random. The Rockies, I was looking at the breakdowns of their record with each different uniform combination that they have. The Rockies are like decent with all of their uniform combinations, but they're gray jerseys. The Rockies are 5-28 when wearing gray jerseys. They have just 5 wins this year while wearing grays. Now, the reason for that is most likely because the grays are their road jerseys and they play significantly worse on the road. But 5-28 with a specific jersey combo halfway through the month of August is wild to me.
Do you have, I'm trying to look that up right now. Do you have like the link of that, or do you have like the picture of what they are by record?
Because I can pull it up real quick.
I'd venture to say in their City Connect jerseys, they're pretty close to 500. Even though people, talked about the Taco Bell and whatever. And honestly, I like the gray
They are
jersey.
5-5.
See?
With City Connect.
500 team. Wear the City Connects every night.
Yeah, they're 5-5.
Make Michael Tolia hit right-handed and wear the City Connects every night.
So purple jerseys, they're 13-31. Not great. This was before they just got a win in a purple, so now they're 14-31. White pinstripes, 11-25. Gray jerseys, 5-28, and City Connect, 5-5. 5-28 though, man, that's wild.
Yes, keep the City Connects all season. Make them wear them every game.
Yeah,
let's just turn it into Taco Rockies, Taco Bell Rockies.
Rockies starting pitcher, another crazy stat. Rockies starting pitching, 7.58 ERA since the All-Star break. That's so bad. That is so bad. There's plenty. When we finish up the season, when we get the one of my favorite shows of the year. Is that like season recap show where we go through all of the things. We're going to spend an hour. Yeah, we're going to spend an entire hour going through what was the 2025 Colorado Rockies season. It's been brutal, but the Rockies have been fun recently. So we'll take it. We'll take it recently.
Yeah, and I kind of mentally, as a fan that is an eternal optimist for all of my teams and try to be in general, I honestly have broken this season down to pre-Warren Schaefer and post-Warren Schaefer. Yeah. And I think that makes me feel a little bit better about where the Rockies are at. Now, I'm not saying that that's warranted, that I should be feeling good about where the Rockies are as a team. Like, that's not necessarily a fair assessment of them. That's just me cherry-picking stats or cherry-picking a time to say that they're good or that they're not as bad as I don't want to believe they're as bad as they actually are, but I really do think that marked a change in the entire vibe around the clubhouse of getting younger. And yes, there's still been some trials and tribulations. There's still been a lot of Orlando Arcia and Kyle Farmer starts, but overall the trend of this team and what we're seeing right now, take away the actual baseball part of it. Just look at the lineups, the kids who are playing, what they're doing, comeback wins, all that stuff. That part to me has felt a lot better.
Yeah, under Schaefer, the Rockies are 28-56. So you're
you're
almost 500.
winning 1 out of every 3 games
Yeah.
versus with Bud Black, they were winning 1 out of every 6 games. And it's not Bud Black's fault. Like, I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying Warren Schaefer is Don Mattingly or something like that. But like the idea that the whole team kind of got a shakeup and like, hey, this is not going to stand anymore from below the front office down. The front office still needs a shakeup, but the actual roster and the players that are in the clubhouse and in the dugout and contributing to each game, I feel like it's changed. Like if the Rockies started the season 28-56, we'd be like, they're bad, but hey, maybe they go on a little run and don't lose 100 games this year. You know, that's where you're kind of at. But whereas the way they started and then being 28-56 after they fired their manager, it's actually kind of decent.
Yeah, you know what's not a good stat though that doesn't bode well for us today? The Rockies are 3-10 on their Monday games. So only 3 wins on a Monday game so far this season. So yeah, that's a tough one. Hopefully they can get to 4-10.
Hey, Freeland, he's been decent lately.
K-Free, and he's been good against the Dodgers, right? If I'm remembering correctly, was his last start against the Dodgers pretty good? I can't remember. I feel like it was, because I feel like it was one of those battle starts where he, maybe gave up a couple runs, but like grinded it out to the 6th inning.
That's his MO, man. He's just so solid about that. And like, yeah, Yamamoto's pitching tonight, but with the way this team's starting to hit and the fact that the game's at Coors Field, I don't care who comes in here. I feel like, Skeens came in here this year. Beck took him yard. We won the game. Like I don't feel as scared facing a insanely scary pitcher right now. I do feel scared facing an insanely talented lineup because I never know what we're going to get from.
Yeah, the offensive output feels, intimidating, right? When you got a team that can put up 8 runs. Sure, the Rockies' offense has been better, but like you said, our losses have been big losses. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Speaking of starting pitching, I want to talk briefly. We got about 4 or 5 minutes left. Chase Dollander. We haven't talked about it. Our last show was on the day Dollander started. Was that correct?
Friday.
So I do want to kind of touch on that real quick. How did you feel about Dollander start? He didn't. I don't think he got the win, but the team got the win that day. Wasn't the best outing from him, but what did you see from that?
Unfortunately, I think we saw a lot more of the same issues, which obviously you don't want him to give up any runs, right? He's still striking out. I think he had 6+ strikeouts, so the stuff's there. The thing that's frustrating for me is the fact that he's continuing to struggle with his command. He's walking too many guys, and he's not pitching. He's not necessarily a pitch to contact guy, because that can go very wrong at Coors Field. And see Senzatella, Antonio. Like it's not necessarily a good thing that he's pitching to contact, but if he ever wants to be the Rockies' ace and stopper, like I don't know the numbers exactly, but I don't think he's gone past 5 innings.
He hasn't. Yeah, I think he did. He went like 5 1/3 or something like that.
Yeah, and you need to get into the 6th inning, especially if your stuff's good and it's working. I don't want to see, if you're going to have a good start, I don't want to see you rolling out there in the 5th inning and you already got 85 pitches. And yeah, you've only allowed 1 run, which is great, but like to take the next step as a starter, like he's got to figure out how to pitch to the strike zone a little bit more, maybe pitch to contact a little bit more, and not throw so many. Like he wastes 10 to 15 pitches that aren't even close a start, and that still worries me.
So you talk about him not getting into the 6th inning, and we were actually having a full discussion. Me, Thomas Harding, Patrick Saunders, and a couple other people in the media were in the press box having a discussion about this, because you're right. I mean, you look at his starts and you're like, okay, his stuff is good. I mean, he struck out the side in the 2nd inning and his stuff was electric that inning. But then you look at his pitch count, he was at 70 pitches through 4 innings or something like that. It was close to 70 pitches through 4 innings. Even when he gets 2 strikes, he almost always works into a full count. It's like he gets ahead, and what was it? It was Patrick Saunders asked Warren Schaefer post-game during the post-game presser, does Chase Dollander lack a put-away pitch, or is that something that you're working on? And Schaefer kind of laughed it off like, no, Chase has a great put-away pitch. But if you actually watch his starts, his put-away pitch sometimes is what gets him into trouble, because he'll go 0-2, and his next 2 pitches, it's like he's over pushing it to like he doesn't want to make a mistake, right? He like buries it 10 feet out of the zone in the dirt to where it's not even close. And then you find yourself in a 2-2 count. And now you're battling to keep out, you're battling to try to find, your zone again. He goes deep into counts. And so even if he has good stuff, his pitch count is killing him every single time he's starting. So next time he starts, watch that, because he gets ahead in counts. He'll get 2 strikes, and it's like he's afraid to make that, that corner paint pitch because he doesn't want to give up a home run on 2 strikes, or he doesn't want to make the mistake. That, I think, is if he can get his 2-strike command figured out, he will be the pitcher that we expect him to be. But until that, his command is just not fine-tuned enough.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that coin too, you don't get to see his put-away pitch as much because he's constantly, in my mind, at least the last couple of starts, he's starting every batter 2-0. And then he's just trying to fight to get back to a pitcher's count at all and throw a pitch that's even close to the plate to then get them to swing at it. Yeah. But when you start 1-0, 2-0, I think he has one of the lowest first pitch strikes in all of baseball.
He does, by 10%.
Yeah. So when you don't start out with a first pitch strike, doesn't matter how good your stuff is, you're fighting against it because you have the hitter knows that you have to come into the zone.
Yep.
So
totally.
yeah,
100%.
he that put away pitch will be much more valuable once he's starting guys 0-1, 0-2, and then he's got a few pitches that he can waste, but he can feel like he can attack people more. Yeah. And you almost just want to tell him like, yes, these hitters are very good, but so are you. Your stuff is very good. You throw 99 inside on a right-handed hitter, they're not catching up to it. Just throw it. Like sometimes you're going to get hit hard. Yes, harder pitches get hit harder and they have harder exit velos, but like his stuff is good enough that he doesn't need to be trying to pick corners and paint and throw these pitches, like overthrow these pitches like an Antonio Senzatella, where he does. In order to be decent, he's got to be perfect around the corners.
Yeah, just real quick, we are heading into overtime, by the way, so if you're watching on TV, head over to thednvr.com to finish the conversation. Yeah, 100%. And it is, I don't know if it's so much of, like I said, it's not so much of just a put away pitch, it's just the command of that. And Jackson makes, he makes a great point. He gets to 0-2 counts and he throws 3 straight pitches, not even close, or he throws a pitch right down the middle. It's like he's wasting his wasted pitch, right? Like you always say, okay, 0-2, you can waste a pitch, but don't like really waste the pitch, right? Make it close enough where you're getting them to chase, but you don't have to throw it down the middle. And so that's where I want to see a little more fine tuning. But he's still got good stuff. I think he just needs to get his organization back in line, and he'll be good. But we got to finish the show as we do every single Monday with our circle of trust. It's a big circle of trust because we're going up against the Dodgers this week. The Rockies need to, in my opinion, you got to take at least one game against the Dodgers here. Make LA sweat a little bit. Who is going to be the people that you trust to get it done against the Dodgers in the circle of trust this week?
Dude, my guy Brenton Doyle is firmly in the circle of trust now.
2 feet in the middle.
He has been, ever since his off the field, his wife going through what they went through as a family, and you thought 2 months ago, I was like, I don't know if this guy's career is over.
We were like thinking about salvaging him at the trade deadline type of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And he has has always been the elite center fielder, but now he's hitting home runs. He's hitting for average. He's not a strikeout every other at bat guy. Like he has firmly planted his feet in the circle of trust for me. And then I think, he's not there yet, but Kyle Karros is edging on it, and not from his, the numbers he's put out are still too early, but like watching him take at bats, dude, a lot of the, we've seen the strikeout numbers. It's bad.
Yeah.
And watching guys like Bernabel and guys like Karros come up and have seems like a plan at the plate. They're spitting on pitches just off the outside. They're not swinging and missing a ton. That shows me that you have some guys that are taking not a leap, but they're taking steps toward taking a leap to being a legit major league hitter. And the Rockies can't afford to have 7 or 8 hitters that strike out all the time. They're not hitting enough bombs to do that, and I don't think they ever will. So having a few guys like Bernabel and Karros that just take professional at bats like Tyler Freeman has been doing all year, that makes me feel a lot more comfortable with them at the plate.
I agree with you. And Kyle Karros' plate discipline has been really, really elite. Same thing with Warning Bernabel. I don't think I've seen enough from Kyle yet. He's had a couple iffy games. Yeah, I agree his plate discipline's good, but he's had a couple iffy games that I need to see a little bit more. The guy who is firmly planted in my circle of trust right now, so much so that I was actually nervous that he was not in the game. Victor Vodnik is 2 feet in the center of that damn circle. Victor Vodnik is the guy that I want to see going out in the 9th inning if the Rockies have the lead or it is a close game. And I couldn't have said that at the beginning of the season because we just haven't seen enough. Vodnik has been erratic. Last year he had some games that he just wasn't on his stuff. His fastball tends to get away from him sometimes. He has made adjustments this year that I have seen no other pitcher make. His stuff is honestly some of the best in the bullpen. I think Victor Vodnik is firmly planted in the center of my circle of trust. He is your closer, even when Seth Halverson comes back, until you give me a reason to believe otherwise. I would like to see Victor Vodnik closing at least 2 of these games against the Los Angeles Dodgers. He is my new addition to the circle of trust. Shout out to Mr. Vodnik.
Well, and while we're giving him a shout out, gotta shout out Jimmy Herget. He's
Herget
in the circle
too.
of trust too. That guy, I wish we would have traded him, but he's going on a pre-All-Star break, April, May, like Jake Bird type of run. He can pitch multiple innings. He comes out, gets a strike, gets strikeouts. He weak contact. Like, I am so confident in Jimmy Herget. Like, if we can get 7 innings of 4 to 5 run baseball from X starter and 2 or 3 other guys, and you have a lead somehow, Herget to Vodnik right now is money. Absolute money. And you did not anticipate saying that after the way the season started.
I love it. Our circle of trust is growing every single day, and hopefully it continues to grow as the Rockies go on to play the Los Angeles Dodgers. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. This has been a pleasure. What a fun show. Hopefully we have some more fun baseball to talk about. We are doing a change in schedule both this week and next week. This week specifically, though, we are doing our second show on Wednesday at noon. Spencer's out of town Friday, and so we're doing our show Wednesday at noon. So showtimes this week, Monday, today, and Wednesday at noon. We'll see you guys on Wednesday, hopefully after a couple wins. This has been the DNVR Rockies podcast presented by Bet365.
We all silly like the mayor.